Gould versus Warren Ryan confrontation worth having a look at today as well. I think both teams just about ready to take the field. West's on their way, led out by captain Joe Thomas, a player who was nearly sacked by the club or swapped by the club at the beginning of the year. Mark Bell coming into the starting lineup with Terry Hill out. Hill has ruptured blood vessels in his thigh muscle, but he'll be back soon. Andrew Leeds is the fullback. Wayne Simons on one wing. Steve Georgalis in the centre with Darren Willis moving from wing into the centre. Mark Bell comes onto the wing. Paul Langmack at 5'8". Jason Alson at halfback. Jason Liddon at lock forward. Stephen Carney and Darian Doherty in the second row. Mark Affleck, Joe Thomas and Darren Britt in the front row. And there's Joe Thomas laying down the law. David Gillespie, the usual skipper with the New South Wales Origin team. And Jason Liddon, who's been playing very powerful football in the lock forward spot, made a number of incisive bursts last week in West's win over Balmain. Andrew Leeds at fullback. It's a chilly, windy day here at Campbelltown. The wind will be swirling around. The fullbacks will be tested by the bombs. And John Cartwright leads out the Panthers, struggling at the bottom of the ladder with just the one win, as Roy pointed out. West with 2 wins, Penrith with 1 win. Unusual to see Warren Ryan and Phil Gould coach side struggling. At fullback is Tony Shurab. On one wing, Stan Presty, a former West player. Ryan Girdler and Shane Vincent in the centres. Matt Adamson on the other wing. Jason Ryan at 5'8". Danny Farah is the halfback. At lock forward, Grant Trindle. John Cartwright, the skipper, in the second row with Phil Adamson. Barry Walker, Brett Boyd and Paul Clark, the front rowers. And down to Johnny Peard on the windy sideline.
Yes, Warren, and a very cold wind from the south, and that'll be at the back of Western Suburbs in the first half. Now, there's been a lot of team changes, but the change in personnel hasn't inconvenienced the coaches too much. They're very confident, and I spoke to both of them prior to the match. You feel you've got an edge in any area today?
Well, probably pretty even, John. Maybe at the end of the game we'll be able to answer that a little more fully. But both sides have got players out. We've got 3 out. They've got 3 out that I think would normally be in there. I think Carter, Alexander and Fittler are all out, and we've got Terry Hill, David Gillespie and Jason Taylor out. So both sides are depleted in that area. But I don't know. It's a windy day. It's an oval-shaped ball, who knows?
Yeah. Phil, how difficult is it to prepare a team with constant changes?
Well, we've had a difficult time with injury in the past few weeks, and of course I've been away with the rep scene and that type of thing, but I've got very good staff there and our systems are in place, and the boys have trained very well this week. Throughout the injury times, it meant we haven't had a full-strength side on the field, but has given us a chance to look at some young players like Jason Ryan and Grant Trindle and Phil Adamson and Shane Vincent. We're very happy with their progress and looking forward to a better finish to the year.
And referee David Manson gets play underway from the boot of Andrew Leeds. A solid kick too, down to Adamson. And the tall, strong former Parramatta player, Matt Adamson, brings it back. Brett Boyd goes into dummy half. The first penalty of the match goes against Darren Britt, holding down the Penrith players. Britt, one of the West's big men who's just come back from injury, going over the top here and holding Adamson down too long.
Well, I didn't think that was too long. We've seen it go a lot longer in normal games. It's obviously the offence that he wants to stamp down on.
So the strong southerly wind behind West in the first half, and you could see Leeds driving the kick to start play deep. Here's big Barry Walker.
And Warren, very brave decision by Penrith. They won the toss and elected to run into this breeze.
Long ball from Boyd out to Farah. He picks up Cartwright running off him. 10 metres short of halfway. Now a chance for Phil Adamson, the brother of Matt, and he gets the pass back to Brett Boyd. Slips it away. Good football here. The unloading. Danny Farah backing up. If we compare the for and against of these two teams, we'll see that they aren't that dissimilar. West's 86 points in attack, 145 against Penrith. Very similar sort of record, and that poor defence is the reason both teams are down the bottom of the ladder. But looking to start to climb it, here's Mark Bell.
I noticed, Warren, that Penrith are using as their clearing kicker number 5, Matt Adamson. A very dangerous or risky tactic to use a winger as a clearing kick, particularly if you get a charge down.
Here's Liddon going up the centre.
Particularly against this wind, Roy.
That's right, Peter.
Now West get the penalty. Same reason the first penalty was blown by referee Manson. John Cartwright and Paul Clark, the tacklers, holding the man down. Now Andrew Leeds Will he go for goal? He thought about it for a moment, but Joe Thomas said, no, look for touch. So just inside the Penrith half, he finds touch 20 metres out. Andrew Leeds, who just 2 weeks ago Warren Ryan described as having a magnificent game against Manly, and he felt on that form he was the best fullback in the game. It's up to Andrew Leeds to do that week in, week out. He is having a good year once he recovered from early injury. Here's Darren Britt now, 18 metres out. Thomas at a dummy half, gets it to Carney, the big junior Kiwi. Only 12 out on the blind side. The reverse pass, trying to link up with Doherty, Darian Doherty. Dumped heavily. Chance here for West early in the game. Alchin, Langmack, the wraparound. On the burst, it's Leeds, Cartwright. Good tackle by Cartwright, wrapping up the ball. He was one out at the time. Last tackle now. Alchin. Trying to put the kick ahead. Willis has got it. 6 more tackles to West. Came off the Penrith player. Ruled to have played at it. Now the big man, Mark Affleck, former Balmain player, has a go. The compressed defence of Penrith. West will be trying to get outside it here. Alchin, Langmack, goes wide. Over the top to Georgialis. He's got his winger with him. Goes himself. Slides over the line. And he looks like he's got it down. First try of the match goes to West after just a couple of minutes play.
It was a very clever ball by Langmack there. He held it up for a while and then chose to selectively pop it over to the centre, who chose to keep going rather than give it to the winger.
There it is there, and Georgialis made the decision to go for it himself here with his winger unmarked. He thought he could get there and only just succeeded. Outside him waiting was Wayne Simons.
Well, there we see the ball go from the half on to Langmack. He holds the ball, passes it onto the centre, makes a decision whether to go himself. He does, and television replays this one will tell us whether he in fact grounded it on the line.
There it is, that long pass. A couple of decoy runners going straight just to hold the defence in a little, and on the second bounce there, not a double movement, but the momentum must have just carried him to the line, in the referee's opinion. Well,
we'll see the Steeden just on the left of your screen was right on the line, Warren.
And Steve Georgialis, the son of a Greek father and a Dutch mother, former East player scoring the try.
What a cosmopolitan game we have.
Indeed, particularly these days.
And Andrew Leeds, his mother is Latvian and father is Australian. And his nickname is Jumper.
A difficult kick, he puts it out, allowing the breeze to bring it back, and just misjudges, only by centimetres. A good attempt by Leeds, and West hitting Penrith early, 4-0.
A good play by West after receiving another 6 tackles, which was fortunate. But the decoy runners were important here. One was Britt and the other one was Liddon, who's a good hole runner. That enabled Georgialis to see a bit of daylight, and his body momentum just got him there. Good play by West, but fortunate with 6 more tackles from a Penrith touch.
And the ball rolling off the mound. Penrith have won 4 of the last 6 meetings between these clubs. And last year it was 18 points to 10 to the Panthers at Campbelltown. And that was a week after the sad death of Ben Alexander, which caused such disruption to the Penrith club last year. They had a big turnover of players in the off-season. Phil Gould decided to start afresh. But at this stage of the year, you would say it hasn't worked. And in fact, today he finds himself really down in depth.
Western Suburbs used decoys very effectively. There was almost a bridge of players there, preventing the chasers from getting at their kicker.
Stan Presty watches the ball go over the dead ball line. Leeds kicking 5 metres his own side of halfway. So a deep kick of some 65 metres, and well and truly went over the dead ball line. In the early games today, in the under-21s, it was a win to Penrith, 24-16. And in reserve grade, West's reversed that, 36-10, a big win to the Magpie reserve graders. And I suppose that tells a story in itself, with Penrith's depth being tested. A lot of those reserve grade players in first grade today. Here's John Cartwright. And quite a few of the Penrith first graders today were playing reserve grade or lower grades with Parramatta last year. The likes of Shane Vincent, Jason Ryan, the 2 Adamsons, all transferring to Penrith this season. Here's Leeds. Turns around in front of him, he sees Shane Vincent. A good tackle by him.
But that's going to cause a problem for them, because I noticed then when they kicked that the halfback had to go and take the position on the right wing, particularly when you have to kick from the centre of the field. It's going to be a cause of problem for Penrith.
Without Fittler, there's a good offload back to Thomas. Liddon goes straight. It was Darren Britt flicking it out the back to keep it alive. But without Fittler, without Greg Alexander, Danny Farah is in the halfback spot. He has played as much hooker, well, maybe not lately, but he isn't really a speedster of a halfback. Great pass picked up by Carney. Maybe it was forward, but he filled it up brilliantly. Leeds goes a little higher this time. Now, will they go for it? They might as well let it go. Adamson makes a mess of it. He doesn't know where it's gone. Paul Langmack will score a gift try. Matt Adamson went for the ball. It came off his shoulder, flew high in the air behind him. He had no idea where it had gone. There were no other Penrith players back at bar one to assist him. They completely lost it, and Paul Langmack had all day to arrive. As the ball comes down, Langmack is just crossing the 20-metre line. There it is, confusion between Zurab and Adamson, and it's left for, well, the easiest try that Paul Langmack will ever score.
But on the other hand, Langmack should be given full credit for chasing that kick. A lot of players would not. They would have positioned themselves for the run back in order to tackle the counter-attacking Penrith players. And he just kept on going through on anticipation, and good luck to him for doing it. At the age of 28 or 30 or whatever he is, a lot of players wouldn't have.
And Leeds puts the extras through from right in front. West's leading 10-0 with the breeze at their backs, and we've had just 8 minutes of play.
This win's really got Penrith on the back foot. Look at Leeds. There's Langmack onside who's left. It doesn't matter because Adamson made a meal of this. He had plenty of time to get under this. There's Langmack with enthusiasm and the chase. And that's the easiest 6 points West will get this season.
Paul Langmack, who's now racked up some 208-odd first-grade games with a couple of clubs, of course. He spent a long time at Canterbury and a successful time too. There's a Penrith player in there, goes underneath the referee, but he was trying to get his hand free by punching away at the West's hand.
He was extremely angry. There was something that caused the Penrith...
Jason Ryan, it is.
Jason Ryan, a lot of angst.
Well, Stephen Carney presumably grabbed hold of his hand. Something happened in here, and there's Ryan just trying to release the hand which was grabbing at his jersey. And then goes underneath referee Manson. And Ryan is penalised for striking. Really, he had no right, I suppose, to be striking in such vigorous fashion.
Well, something upset him, but he can't take the law into his own hands like that.
So West go back into Penrith's half. There it is, he's chopping away at Carney's hand. Carney simply had hold of his jersey. Now Georgialis from the tap. West with plenty of men marshalling up outside. On the right, Alchin gets it to Britt. Liddon was backing him up. The pass didn't come. 15 metres out. Alchin switches it to Langmack. Doesn't have a lot of numbers. He gives it to Darren Willis. Willis usually on the wing. Certainly has sharp acceleration. Alchin holds it up. Doherty trying to spin out of the tackle. And Doherty managing to, well, get the pass away, but the referee... Well, has he ruled? Is it a forward pass or did he passed after he called held?
Actually, I think a Penrith hand went in there and he released the ball, and he may have been attempting to get a penalty.
Here's Farah from the scrum win. Adamson is met by a good tackle. Doherty over the top. Underneath was Georgialis. So too Affleck.
West are at their most dangerous from tap plays. Everything's structured. 6 rucks, they structure them and have obviously rehearsed them at training. They're very dangerous in that situation.
Good burst by Barry Walker. He's pulled down 10 metres short of halfway. Now it's Cartwright. Cartwright, Walker and Paul Clark, the 3 survivors from the 91 grand final win by Penrith that are playing in the starting lineup today. Brett Boyd kicks, it's charged down by Alchin. Back goes Zurab, and he steps away from Alchin and manages to gain a few more metres. And a West player will be called out. Something went in on the bottom of that tackle. It's Doherty. a former Penrith player, Darian Doherty. One of the men coached by Phil Gould, who are now with Wests. Some of them Canterbury players, some of them Penrith. Penalties 2-all.
The 5 metres or the 8 metres as it is today is very skinny in this particular game. The referee Manson has not got both sides back a distance, and we saw the first sign of it there with that charge down.
Adamson's kick only picks up 6 metres, hooking away as the breeze straightened it out. 9 metres inside the West half as Clark plays it. Now it's Walker. 2 front rowers taking it in turns to hit it up. John Cartwright camped on the blind side. No one with him, though. It goes wide with Farah. Boyd, a dummy half, works it the same way. Ryan. West defence not being tested as yet. A good run by Adamson. Phil Adamson, but getting too close to that touchline.
No, he lost the ball, Warren.
There he is, Phil Adamson, the brother of Matt. Tall, strong. And driven towards the line. There he is, losing it and then trying to collapse on it as it went over the side. Mark Bell, former Canberra winger who scored 16 tries for West last year but finds himself in reserve grade in the last few matches. Langmack going back in amongst the forwards, or in fact it was Willis. Heavy tackle came in from Adamson that time, but it's left to Farah and Walker to clean up. Leeds didn't give it as much air that time. Tony Shurab just inside his 20-metre line. Shurab had a nightmare time with Penrith in the semi-final series of 1991, and that seemed to shatter his confidence. He transferred to West last year. Wests and Zurab had fullback problems in 92. That's a great pass away, backing up Adamson. The pass, I think, came from his brother. This is Phil Adamson. He gets it to Ryan. Simon's the tackler. Walker takes them on again.
The tackling's very intense, Warren. I mean, the attack is probing and clever, but the most important part of it is the hard hitting that's going on. There might be a lot of new replacements, but they're committed in defence.
Farah kicks straight to Leeds.
Yeah, Penrith's kicking game very ordinary there. I mean, throwing it back 15 metres for Farah to get a kick in of 20 metres. I mean, surely it'd be better going in the air.
The midfield bomb might be as good as anything, John.
Drive it up into the wind. Leeds is a very good handler of the ball, but certainly he's going to put some pressure on him.
Liddon beats Boyd's swinging tackle. Can't get past Walker and Clark. Alchin. Langmack holds it up. Willis chiming in, loses it, and away they go with Presty. Bell chasing. Stan Presty still going. Good burst. He's only 12 metres out as he's finally knocked over. Taking advantage of the drop ball. Cartwright goes himself, turns, swings it back. On it goes from Trindle. They're only 9 metres out. Clark to play it. Farah. Adamson. He had the arm swinging, left behind by Vincent. It's play on though. Away goes Adamson. Just 4 metres out. So West, for the first time, back inside their own quarter. Farah flicked out the back beautifully to Trindle now. Trindle with high chances, cut down.
That was a try murdered, that.
Alchin the tackler. The kick rebounding from Girdler. On it goes to Presty, and West have come up with it. And Girdler's kick stabbing straight into the West player.
Well, Penrith had a 3-man overlap there, and he just could not get that pass away.
Put that down to inexperience from Trindle. He's a junior from North Sydney. But Phil Adamson's the one that's really impressing people. He's just popping balls up. He's got to be followed, but...
Now here's Stephen Carney. West just quietening it down. They made one mistake and almost had a try scored against them. Georgalis pops it to Simons. Good tackle on Simons, but he gets it to Langmack. On it goes to Britt backing up. Good football. Joe Thomas can't pull it in, though. Bit of adventure from West, but it comes asunder, and Zurab runs away with it. Bit of adventure from the West forwards.
Yes,
out of character.
That's right. Well, they're feeling a lot more confident. They know that they've, with a 6-point lead, got cheaply. I think that they're willing to experiment a little bit more.
Clark. Knocked over 30 metres out. Adamson, as in Phil Adamson. 10-0 to Wests. 17 minutes of play gone. Cartwright holds it up and gives it to Girdler. Girdler goes towards Leeds, turns it on the angle, and Tony Suburbs scores the try. Well, Girdler surprised everyone there. It looked as if Cartwright was going to hold a pass up and possibly cut out Girdler, but at the last moment he shoveled the ball towards the centre. He cut straight through and had Leeds at 6s and 7s. Here's Cartwright holding it up, gives the pass to Girdler. He changes direction, changes the angle for Tony Surup, the fullback, and he scores his 3rd try in 2 matches.
Put the credit to Cartwright, however, for the way in which he held the ball up just for that precise moment, took the defence off Girdler's presence, and of course there was a beautiful switch to the fullback, Zurb, coming through.
There he is, Tony Surup, scoring his 3rd try of the season. He scored 2 last week against North Sydney, and so he's in try-scoring mood.
This is becoming quite an entertaining game, Warren. There might be a lot of new faces out there, but there's some hard heads, and they're willing to experiment with the ball, and the experienced guys are just holding it up a fraction of a second for the enthusiastic runners to come through.
And now Ryan Girdler, who joined Penrith from Illawarra this season. He has kicked 5 from 9, 56% this year. And right in front, he adds 2 more, and Illawarra hit back with a try that will boost their confidence. It's 10-6 to Wests.
Johnny Cartwright showing his value on the fringe of the ruck. Langmack went out. It was beautiful positioning of Ryan Girdler then. He picks up Zureb up the inside, but Johnny Cartwright held his ball up beautifully.
West would have to think this is at least a 10-point breeze at their backs in the first half, as Vincent takes the kick and gives it to Adamson.
A new player on for West, Warren. Brad Hughes in 16. He's on for Jason Elchin.
I wonder what is in Warren Ryan's mind with that change. No sign of injury to Jason Elchin, John?
Yes, I think he's got a slight injury, Warren.
Well, the penalty goes to Penrith on their own 20-metre line. There's Greg Alexander alongside Mark McGaw, who's suspended. Just 2 of the players Penrith would love to have on the field.
Jason Elchin is a blood bin, Warren.
Thanks, John. So the kick finding touch, gaining 20 metres into the wind that time from Adamson with the left footer. And now he is up there to take the tap off Boyd. John Cartwright standing wide, calling the shots, and he gets the pass as he cuts out 2. Now Adamson trying to step through the tackles. He's long and lanky.
Penrith seem to be surging at the present time, Warren. They're playing with a lot more confidence and taking a little bit of a gamble with the ball, and the forwards are backing each other up more.
Phil Adamson, John Cartwright. Zurab trying to back up. It's on the ground, and Farah picks it up at 6 more tackles. Well, referee Manson said it came off a West hand. It didn't look that way. Here's Walker. Good run by Barry Walker. He drags Britt a couple of metres further. Farah. Ryan. Out wide is Girdler. Tries to get it on. Willis knocking him over, and the pass goes astray. Anyone's ball, and Georgialis dives on it for West. Certainly constructive play by Penrith. The forwards making ground and then looking to the backs, and they were moving pretty sweetly till the last pass went astray.
Very condensed defence by Penrith. They're obviously inviting West to get on the outside of them. West may be unwilling to do this in their own half.
Errors so far, West have made 10, Penrith 5. And of those 10 errors, 6 are missed tackles by the Magpies. Still the defence is strong from both teams. Leeds with Ryan and Trindle putting a bit of pressure on him. Kicks deep. Good kick away from Presty. Sends Zurab right down to his goal line. Liddon's up there. Good step. Left Liddon going the wrong way, but went straight into the arms of Langmack. Matt Adamson. Presdy. Stan Presdy, who played quite a few first grade games on the wing for West last year. Walker. Cartwright, who's been battling shoulder problems and declared himself fit to play last week, even though the suggestion was that he really wasn't 100%, but the injury toll from Penrith causing the captain, who played so courageously at the end of last year too, John Cartwright, to make himself available. Bell. Georgalis feeds it onto Simons. He runs into Barry Walker and Boyd. Just give him a little clip over the ear.
A bit questionable. I think the referee, if he had a better view of that, may have pulled that one up.
Just over the halfway line go the Magpies with Affleck. Britt. Kyle White's still out for West. He was suspended for a few weeks, came back and was injured. And Warren Ryan claiming that the absence of Britt and Kyle White was certainly hurting West. Great attempt at charge down by Trindle there. Didn't quite make contact though, and the kick goes over the dead ball line. Andrew Leeds will find it a lot more difficult in the second half into this wind.
On the other hand, I wonder whether they are getting as much value out of the wind as they would like.
In the sense that they're going too deep.
Yeah.
I got some value out of it earlier when a bomb came off the shoulder and they scored a try.
I think running into the wind too, for Penrith's sake, Roy, you tend to value possession a lot more.
Here's Girdler now, but Willis is having a good battle in the setters. Zurab tries to go the other direction when he saw Liddon coming in hard. It was a good tackle. Clark. And he just to hold his ground, even though the West Force try to drive him back. He gets it to Boyd. On now to Zurab. Cartwright. Still alive as Cartwright. The pass has gone nowhere. Zurab there to back it up. The referee said the pass went forward.
I think that we can say probably with all certainty now that Penrith's tactic is to attack the Western Suburbs right wing where Mark Bell is guarding. All of their attack seems to be across that side of the field.
West have a number of other players on the injured list who they've called on at various stages this year, such as Steve O'Day and Damien McGarry. But certainly Gillespie, Taylor and Terry Hill that they would really be missing today. But Penrith probably have an even bigger injury toll. Alexander, certainly the key to that. Now West get the penalty, and I think it was against the Penrith marker, not getting directly behind. Or was it for not being back 5 metres?
The Penrith marker, Boyd, not being immediately and directly in front of the...
Put that down to a quick play of the ball by Brad Hughes, the replacement.
And Andrew Leeds is going to shoot for goal. 30 metres out, not too far off centre field. And with the wind behind him, it's only a question of direction. John, while we've got the just a quick chance here, what do you make of the changes to the Origin teams?
Well, I think it's given Queensland a better chance than I thought they had. I thought the Blues at home should be able to wrap it up, but those late changes may give Queensland an advantage. I'll be going for the Blues anyway, Warren.
Former Blues coach, why wouldn't you be? Andrew Leeds from 30 metres out and pilots it straight between the posts, and West extend their lead to 6 points. The Magpies 12, the Panthers 6. We've got 14 minutes remaining in the first half.
And Jason Alchin back on the field.
Alchin back from the blood bin, and Hughes goes back to the bench. And there he is, Jason Alchin. Looks pretty healthy, despite losing a little bit of blood. A former Canterbury player. He's played in quite a few positions over the last few years. Halfback, fullback and hooker. Ryan Girdler. Kicks solidly into the breeze. Leach gathers and gives it away to Carney, and this big man winds up. Didn't bust the tackle of Clark, though. Now it's Bell stealing out a dummy half. Liddon.
It's good yards by West, all because Carney played the ball quickly.
Together with the fact that Langmack is going through as a decoy, taking the ruck defenders, putting them in two minds.
Clumsy play the ball by Doherty, and Thomas decides to kick. Wasn't the fifth tackle. Giroud, did he get to it in time? No, he knocked it on. And he is not happy with himself. Fumbling it up in the air, tried to grasp it before it hit the deck. Well, Tony Giroud.
I think that's the type of kicking that we'll see more of from this game on, rather than the big long kicks.
I think Tony Giroud will see a few bombs coming his way in the second half, though.
Oh, yeah, the high ones will be on, but not the long ones.
Bell. Almost through the gap. Langmack at dummy half. Alchin. Georgalis. Can't get away from Ryan. Farah in to help. 23 metres out. Affleck. He's driven back by Walker and Clark. That's good defence. Makes the attacking players go back and reset themselves. Britt. Equally good tackle by Cartwright. Alchin. Langmack. Boyd wrapping him up. And the top arm coming over the top of the shoulder. Last tackle now for West. Leeds pops it up in the air. Vincent contests it and comes up with it, Shane Vincent. Not a real good kick from Andrew Leeds. He seemed so determined not to put it over the dead ball line that he really didn't give it enough air to put pressure.
Well, he was fairly hurried, Warren. The referee hasn't got a good 5 in this game. They're standing fairly close to each other.
Roy was also standing up flat. He didn't really give himself a chance.
It may well have been a last-minute decision.
Barry Walker goes across the ruck and spins out of the tackle. Finally put to ground by Langmack and Britt. Brett Boyd, the former Canberra hooker, who decided to move to Penrith last year when Steve Walters really had that first-grade spot well and truly locked up. And here's Boyd kicking out a dummy half, and he finds touch with a useful kick. That's as good as any kick they've put in on the fifth into the wind.
Might have won himself a job.
Well, kicking out a dummy half, at least you're 10 metres further upfield, aren't you? And West's in no hurry to get to this scrum by the look of it. Sometimes these cold, windy days aren't very conducive to good football. Both teams just want to stay in the dressing rooms, but they seem to be playing wholeheartedly out there so far and have been prepared to move the ball around.
Yeah, there's a lot of enthusiasm.
Georgalis. Taken by Giroud up in the line with Ryan. Simons gets away from a couple. Good run by Wayne Simons. Tried to play it quickly, almost dropped it. Langmack throws the dummy, ridden to ground by Phil Adamson. Just over the halfway line. Alchin. The little legs pumping.
Western Suburbs player down in back play, which of course they're heading straight towards him.
I think it's Jason Liddon struggling to get to his feet. Last tackle now for West. Alchin puts it up high. Coming through is Leeds to have a go for it, but away comes Phil Adamson. Good football by the second rower to get back. He's tall, and he was able to match Leeds for height. Matt Adamson now.
He's playing with a roving commission, a right winger over there on the left-hand side of the field.
No way through the West forwards as Carney and Affleck stopped Presdy. Clark. Walker. Was thinking about trying to turn the pass on the inside, but realised he was better off having a go himself. And Boyd does have another kick, not so successful. Suburbs manages to stop it with his foot, almost lost it again.
It's a problem with playing into the wind. You just got to knock that ball forward to try and get some sort of kick in. But I feel that's one of Penrith's weaknesses, their kicking game. Obviously, they just haven't got a designated kicker. It'll be interesting in the second half what they do with their kicking game.
And they did get 6 more tackles from that kick by Boyd.
Bit of a wrestle going on between Boyd and Doherty.
Down the blind side, a chance as Adamson for a moment had the numbers, but now he loses the ball. And the scrum will pack. And Adamson really not making the most of that. He decided that with the amount of ground to the sideline starting to get a little narrow, that he wouldn't throw the pass.
A bit too adventurous there, Adamson, but I think Penrith will be relying on their experience in the forwards of Cartwright, Walker and Clark.
Georgalis, Simons, stepping off his right foot, trying to get inside Jason Ryan. Another good tackle from Adamson. He seems to be everywhere, Matt Adamson, in this game. Willis.
Been an important change in the Penrith side. Adamson's gone to full-back. That's the winger. And Graham Mackay's on the wing in 41.
Britt gets it back to Elchin. Langmack. Georgalis couldn't quite get the pass away to Willis. That was a good tackle.
And Zureb, of course, is the man replaced, Warren.
The tackle on Willis came from Ryan.
Georgalis has outstanding hands. He took that pass under quite difficulty.
Leads off his left foot, the former rugby player, showing some versatility. Farah takes it well. So, John, again, Tony Zureb replaced, not injured.
I don't think he was injured. I just think it was just time for a change. They've been peppered with kicks. And I think Phil Gould will be reasonably pleased to go in one scoring shot behind West with the wind at their backs.
Big Graham Mackay onto the field. Of course, last year he was playing State of Origin football for New South Wales. Has been battling a knee problem and named as a fresh reserve for this game. And here he comes. Cartwright was about to give it to him. Decided to hold it up himself. Mackay in there. He wants to get part of the action. Adamson kicks ahead on the last. A race for the ball. Adamson toes ahead. Bell back there and manages to save the day. Good football by Adamson.
Jerry Thomas did a great job on a shoulder charge to stop him coming through to collect that ball.
Andrew Leeds now with the ball. Thomas plays it back to Georgalis. Joe Thomas, who Warren Ryan tried to swap for Wayne Collins at the beginning of the year, decided that he would rather have another forward as his hooker. It's been something of a turnaround for Thomas because he's now got the captaincy for West. And there he is, getting the pass away to Simons. On it goes back to Thomas again. Over the top, intended for Leeds. And Leeds still has it and it's been touched by the Penrith players. 6 more tackles.
I'm sure that Joey didn't intend to get 6 again. That was a bonus for him.
Elchin, Liddon. Elchin again. Carney stepping well for a big man.
They sweep the ball to the right here, West. They're a bit of a chance.
Langmack goes that way. Willis can't get through the tackle of Clark. 20 metres out. Last tackle coming up for West. Britt, does he realise it's the last? He goes himself, flicks the pass on. Langmack with a kick ahead into the in-goal area. Farah there to gather, and a good tackle from behind puts him down just a couple of metres out. There was Andrew Leeds with the tackle. But as Darren Britt ran it on the last, Langmack's kick, while wobbly, worked out pretty well. Now it's Ryan. Jason Ryan, another man who's quite tall for a guy playing 5'8". Cartwright. 4 minutes till half-time. West leading 12-6, 2 tries to 1. Interesting selections by Phil Gould, really, for this match, because in reserve grade he does have some more experienced players like Ashley Gordon, Doug Delaney, Shane O'Grady from Balmain, but he's preferred to go with youth. Maybe he's throwing all his apples in the one basket of youth.
Well, he intends to be there till the end of 1995, so I'm sure he wants the blood players for the future.
Langmack to Simons. But usually you would think a blend with a couple of more experienced players would be more the way to go.
Delaney's had about 3 clubs. In fact, he's back to Penrith for the 2nd time, so he wouldn't be looking to the future with Doug. That player wasn't even looking at that ball then, Jason Liddon.
Adamson, Matt Adamson, charges in.
He certainly gets into the action, the number 5, Adamson. Played on the wing early, now he's at fullback, but he gets into dummy half. He takes the first ball off the dummy half.
Here comes his brother Phil. Tackled by Liddon low, got it, back low to Boyd, Farah. Penrith keep peppering away. Clark, Cartwright. Can't go to the outside, cuts back inside. Those long arms, that big right hand to Graham Mackay. Hard to contain, but Britt hangs onto him. Farah. Adamson. Vincent cuts through, almost through. Taken from behind by Willis.
They're definitely playing the belt side of the field, just trying to get on just on the outside of him.
Here's Girdler now. Gets it away to Presti. He goes over in the corner, and that's a great Penrith try. Came out of nothing, but they worked the blind side beautifully. A couple of short, sharp passes. Presti scores in the corner. And I'll tell you what, with 2 minutes remaining in the first half, Penrith are going to have the win in the second half, and they are in a very good position in this match. Here it is, Girdler holds it up, goes down the blind side. Willis came in, well, he's playing in the centres anyway, and Presti finishes it off. Didn't have much room to work with, but beat Leeds.
You'll notice that Bell goes chasing in field here, and then he's beaten on the outside, and of course that gave them the overlap down that narrow side of the field. That's the side they're playing to Bell, exploiting his roving play in defence.
Penrith have really only entered the west 20-metre zone twice in this match, and both times they've scored tries. Stan Presti scoring one against his former club. Ryan Girdler, who has had a hand in both of the tries. He turned the first pass inside for Tony Zurub's try, and they're giving it to Stan Presti. So on both occasions, Girdler involved. He was injured early in the season. Penrith looking to him as one of their key buys for the year, and he wasn't available.
He came to the club, of course, from Illawarra, where he was used as a replacement back and wanted to cement a first-grade position with the Panthers.
And just a few metres in from touch. He pushes it well out to the right, and the wind keeps it there. A long way off target that time. But Penrith, right in this game, it's 12-10 in favour of West, just a minute till half-time.
We're seeing quite a few tries from 6 tackle plays. West seemed fairly content there, but Girdler showed some good skills because he aimed a kick and then threw a ball out to the winger Presti. Good little in and away to beat Andrew Leeds to the line.
Some of the players that Penrith lost this season were Geyer, Dunn, Luke Goodwin, Brad Izzard, Cole Bentley, Andrew Leeds, Glenn Lydiard, David Green. The list goes on further than to that. So they certainly had some depth to replace, and they've done pretty well in the first half here against West.
Warren Ryan has shown his venom by immediately replacing Bell and putting him straight on the bench only a second before half-time. When a coach does that, he is really angry.
And Mark Bell doesn't look too happy about it as he talks to the trainer just before entering the tunnel. So it's 2 tries apiece. But West had a big breeze behind them in the first half, and they only lead by 2 points at half-time.
This is your Saturday afternoon of sports, bringing you live rugby league action at its best on ABC, your national network.
And we'll go back to Campbelltown Sports Ground shortly. Still on league though, and New South Wales centre Chris Johns has been ruled out of the Blues lineup for Sunday night's second State of Origin clash at the Sydney Football Stadium. Canberra centre Jason Croker has been flown into Sydney and will take John's place on the reserves bench. The Blues trained on a chilly Sydney Football Stadium this morning. Coach Phil Gould reports few other injury worries in the Blues lineup. 3 matches in the AFL today. At Victoria Park, it's Collingwood currently ahead 9-5 to the Hawks 6-10. Footscray got quite a healthy lead over Carlton 10-6 to 5-7. And at Waverley, Essendon, well, quite comprehensive at the moment. They kicked 7 goals straight in the second quarter. They're now 12-3 to St Kilda's 6-6. And now let's cross live to the State Sports Centre in Sydney, where the third women's hockey test between Australia and Korea is less than an hour away. And joining us at Homebush is the new Australian coach, Rick Charlesworth. Hi Rick, how are you?
Well, thanks Karen.
Another second half comeback plan today?
Well, let's hope that we don't find ourselves behind at half-time. It's a little bit disturbing, that.
You wouldn't have spent that much time with the girls, though. This is your first series since the Olympic Games and your first as coach.
Yeah, I've only been in the job sort of full-time for 6 weeks now, and indeed we only had 4 or 5 days before these matches started. But I think that we're taking this opportunity to test many of the players. We have a different group that we're taking off to Japan next month, and I'm hopeful that during the next couple of months we'll get a good idea as to where we're going and who we want.
OK, we've got some vision of the first test from Wednesday night, a 3-3 draw in the end, but at half-time it was 3-0 up for the Koreans. You must have had a few worries at half-time.
Yeah, well, one never likes to be down by 3 goals at half-time. I think that we hadn't played as poorly as the score indicated, but certainly it was quite a difficult period, and it's something that I found an unpleasant experience, if you like.
Would it be right to say, Rick, though, you've been using this test series as some type of experimentation training ground for the girls after such a long break from Barcelona?
Yes, well, about 10 of these girls were in Barcelona, so many of them hadn't played for a long, long time, and of course the new players are finding their feet in international hockey. So from that point of view, we'd had a long break, and it wasn't unexpected that we perhaps were a bit rusty at the start. I think what we found out very quickly was that the tempo of practice matches and club games is a little bit different to international matches.
Sure, yesterday, of course, again, it was the Koreans that struck first. They were 1-0 up at the half-time break. Australia coming back to take it 2-1. You changed the lineup. Were you happy with the side you had yesterday?
Yes, we had, again, a different team, and we've got a different lineup today, and we're really having a look at some of these players and, in a sense, not trying to coach too much, give them an opportunity to play and see what they can do, rather than trying to change them or spend our time substituting and looking for the perfect formula. That's a long way off before we really get into that sort of situation when we're trying to actually win tournaments. Here we're trying to I suppose, develop a team.
So what are the major changes that you have made for this afternoon's test match?
Well, we have a young New South Wales girl, Melanie Dempster, playing only her second match. She played yesterday, playing at centre half. It's a big ask for her. We have a couple of seasoned players who are injured, so she gets her chance to play there. And we're also playing Jenny Morris, who's been quite promising over the last couple of days as a halfback. She's generally played as a fullback, so I think that that's a little bit experimental and a bit risky.
Oh, I think you're getting a bit wet there, Rick. There's 2 new surfaces. They're watering down the pitches behind you. Sorry about that. We'll provide an umbrella next time. The 2 new surfaces there, are you happy with those?
Yeah, I think the surfaces are outstanding, and we certainly can't complain about them. We didn't expect that they would start watering until now, but I think they waited until we were on air, and then they decided they'd turn the sprinklers on.
And Juan Antonio Samaranch was out at Homebush this morning. Did you get the chance to meet him?
Yes, both of the teams were out here, and we had the opportunity to meet the great man. He had a look at the facilities here, and I don't think he could help but be impressed with the quality of the facilities for hockey. Certainly they're as good as anything in the world, and I think when he would have seen the other facilities, then Sydney's chances for the year 2000 wouldn't have suffered at all.
Well, we'll cross our fingers on that one. How do you see our chances this afternoon, 4:30, the kick-off time?
Well, I'm hoping we're going to be ahead at half-time and ahead at the finish, and that would be a much more pleasant experience for me as a coach. I don't think it'll be easy because the Koreans are well motivated, and they're very fit and skillful. And so from that point of view, for those who want to come and see some good hockey, it's on here this afternoon.
Thank you very much. The new coach of the Australian women's hockey team, Rick Charlesworth, at the State Sports Centre in Sydney. And that game, as we said, starting at 4:30. Time now to go back to Warren Boland for the second half of the match between Wests and Penrith. The Magpies ahead by just the 2.
Thanks, Karen. Well, of course, coming up on Monday night is Origin 2, and in an eventful week, Benny Elias was dropped, and I should say Gary Belcher was dropped, and Benny Elias suspended. More on that in a moment, but first, back to last weekend's club action and a remarkable win by the Brisbane Broncos over Illawarra. The Steelers were well on their way to a big win when they led 22-8 with 20 minutes to go against a Brisbane side missing 5 internationals. But inspired by Brett Plowman, who charged like a wild and wide rhino, Brisbane bullocked their way back into the match.
He's still going. He's 15 metres from the line.
A couple of razzle-dazzle tries as the Steelers melted, got the Broncos back within 4 points with 12 minutes remaining.
Now it's out for this big man, Plowman again. He gets a pass inside.
Illawarra mistakes and an Alan Cann offload allowed man of the match John Plath to level the scores 22-all. Terry Madison's conversion gave the club a victory that will go down in its history. At Leichhardt, West dominated a slipshod Balmain to lead 20-8 at half-time and looked much the better team. In the second half, with Balmain down to 12 men, the Magpies slackened off. Terry Hill embarrassing himself here, but they ran out winners 24-20. At Penrith, Norths continued to rack up the wins, but again were far from convincing in beating Penrith 20-18. Both teams scored 3 tries, but while Darryl Halligan kicked 4 from 5, Ryan Girdler could only manage 3 from 7. This conversion, with 2 minutes to go, would have earned the Panthers a draw. And so, at the completion of round 8, St George are on top from Norths, with Canterbury, Brisbane and East making up the top 5. 1 point back, equal in 6th place, are Canberra, Manly and Parramatta. Slipping back, Illawarra, then Souths, Newcastle and Cronulla, with West's Balmain, Gold Coast and Penrith tailing off. An interesting fact is that through the first 8 rounds, away teams in total have won 1 more game than home teams. Off the field, the Benny Elias incident dominated. It all started with Jamie Corcoran charging down a Jason Taylor kick and possibly touching him late on the way through, but obviously doing no damage. The touch judge reported the incident. Elias admitted he made insulting remarks about the touch judge to teammate Tim Brasher while behind the posts. But Elias was sent off for an abusive comment directed at the touch judge as he left the field at half-time. Benny's no angel, and on-field officials must be given respect. But his suspension for 1 club match and an Origin match is severe. A hefty fine would have been more appropriate. Mark McGaw was suspended for 5 weeks, 3 matches, for a head-high tackle on Chris Caruana. Sparkles should thank his lucky stars it wasn't longer. Brisbane and John Quayle took no action against Rob Lindner for this tackle on Julian O'Neill. Fair enough. And no action was taken against Rod Wishart. Again, a sensible decision, although contact was clearly made with John Plath's head. Kerrod Walters, though, must be still wondering why he copped 4 weeks, 2 matches for this tackle a fortnight ago. Now let's take a look at Origin 2. New South Wales have lost Ben Elias, replaced by Robbie McCormack, and with Craig Salvatore out, David Fairley's in, with David Gillespie on the bench alongside Chris Johns. McCormack filled in well last year, but the Blues will miss the drive and enthusiasm of Elias, who shaded Steve Walters in the first game. Queensland have lost Steve Renoff and Michael Hancock, replaced by Mark Coyne and Adrian Brunker. In the forwards, Andrew G has a broken jaw, Mark Hone moves to prop, and Steve Jackson goes to the bench, from where he could be more of a threat. The selectors dropped Gary Belcher for Dale Shearer at fullback. I would have kept Belcher and put Shearer on the wing. Queensland's big hope is the inclusion of Trevor Gilmester in the pack at the expense of Billy Moore. Last night, round 9 kicked off with the return of Brett Kenny for the Eels against the Rabbitohs.
Kenny is passed over the... Oh, here comes a try, you would think. Shot, pulled down. Great defence by Parramatta's Chris King it was. No, it wasn't with Horro. Now it's out for Thompson. Round the corner for Hermanson. That's a try. That's the ball game.
And that was the ball game. South's second try, and they defeated Parramatta by 15 points to 2. A score that I suppose slightly flattered South Sydney, but they were clearly the better team, and a great defensive effort by the Rabbitohs. Usually we think of them as throwing the ball around, which they did do, but they also out-tackled Parramatta last night, so a good effort. One change in that New South Wales State of Origin team. Chris Johns is now out off the reserves bench, and getting his chance on the bench is Canberra's Jason Croker, ahead of Brett Mullins, somewhat surprisingly. Now, Roy, I reckon the Queensland team are more disadvantaged by the various changes, both selection-wise and injury-wise, than New South Wales. For that reason, I think that the Blues are going to wrap up the series. How do you see it?
No, I think Queensland could even it up this time, but may I just make the point that Brett Mullins, I think, was unavailable for New South Wales selection as a result of a rib injury in the game against Eastern Suburbs. I think, in fact,
Terry Hill was the next reserve, but he also was out injured.
With a cork thigh, yeah. I think that Queensland have got more lethal bench this time, and it's going to be to their great advantage. And I think that Shearer, he's been chosen for his so-called better attack than Belcher. Belcher made that extra man in the back line so often, but of course Shearer's probably a better stepper and may be able to run the ball back.
Yeah, I certainly would have retained Gary Belcher. New South Wales, I really think they've lost something with Ben Elias.
Elias is one of the last hookers that can actually move out of dummy half and draw players to him and then selectively slip a ball away. Although he's a psychological target for the Queenslanders, they want to beat a side with Benny in it.
Well, this first half here at Campbelltown, West, with that big win, scored the first two tries, led 10-0, but Penrith have worked their way back into the match. The big forwards are giving them some momentum, and they're playing pretty constructive football.
Yes, I don't think that we should overstate the advantage of the win too much. We'll see with Penrith having it at their backs the second half. I think that Penrith have probably been a little bit more conservative with their passing because they're running into the wind, and so consequently their passes are more precise, and they're backing up each other very well. I think it's a good game of football, and as we said earlier, in terms of giving opportunities to these young guys coming up, the Adamsons and people like that, it may well be the face of the game of league in the future.
Well, there's Steve Georgalis, who slid over for the first try of the match, and Stephen Carney, who was playing quite powerfully, but you've really got to give it to Penrith. They were the underdogs coming into it, a lot of young green faces, and they performed pretty well. There's one man who came into the game late in the half, Graham Mackay, and looked like he was very keen to be part of the action.
Well, we must find out where the bell is on the Western Suburbs right wing.
Graham Mackay to get the second half underway. And just before half-time, Warren Ryan certainly made that change. It looked as if Mark Bell may have been replaced. And Johnny Pearce, what is the news from down there?
Well, the Western Suburbs room, they're spitting chips over that, squandering that 10-0 lead. And Warren Ryan's looking for a much better effort, much better ball control. Phil Gould's main concern is to get to the six and make sure we get an effective kick in.
It'll be interesting to see how both teams adjust to the change of fortune with and without the wind. Mark Bell is not on the field, so he was given the hook just before half-time. Warren Ryan didn't even wait to get him into the dressing room. And paying the penalty, obviously, for leaving his wing and leaving what turned out to be the try line open to Stan Presty. Here's Adamson bringing it back.
Oh, chopping tackle too. A wonderful tackle by the Western Suburbs number 11, Doherty.
A couple of darkish clouds building up away to the east. But for the moment, sunshine and shadows. Just inside the west half, Farah getting wide to Ryan, is it? Out there, darting, weaving, loses the ball, and coming away with it for West is the replacement, and that's Brad Hughes. But was that Vincent lost the ball? Some of these new faces in the Penrith side, still not familiar to me. Affleck has it for West. And Alchin. He really gets those legs pumping, yes, but they don't go, he doesn't seem to go all that way. It's a bit like watching Alan Border run.
Well, he's done two knees, of course. He's had two total knee reconstructions, so he'd obviously be a bit careful on his pins.
Makes a few more metres out of dummy half on the blind side. Now it's Liddon, and Wests are within 25 metres. Last tackle coming up. Langmack puts it high, but didn't seem to be a very effective kick to Adamson, who took it well, beat one, but can't get away from Georgalis. No, he just manages to hang on to him.
You speak to Langers after the game, Warren, and he'll tell you that he was aiming for the upright.
Didn't put a lot of pressure on Adamson. Here's Vincent playing it.
Yeah, West also, as Penrith get a penalty, tipping their hand with that dummy half running. I think it's very effective ploy into the wind.
Penrith have got the penalty here, and a good chance to get play over the halfway line as Vincent is pulled back down by Georgalis as he tried to play it forward. And Georgalis was never really around in front of him either. Clark from the tap gets to the halfway. And now Walker. Predictable but effective. They're both big men. They carry a bit of weight and they get over the advantage line, Clark and Walker. Farah. Langmack moved up very quickly on Cartwright. And he got some help from Liddon. Trindle. Grant Trindle, who North's released before the June deadline last season, and he is now with Penrith. And a good kick finds touch, so a steady set of 6 from Penrith that time. Farah, a little bit of a bruise over the eye. That's Howie Tamati.
Howie Tamati talking to the one of the New Zealand officials.
I read your article in the Sydney Morning Herald talking about Howie this morning. How does it go? You say
you say Tamati, I say tomato. Give Owen Daly credit for that.
Here's Brad Hughes in from the blind side of the scrum win. Willis. West trying to surge upfield with their forwards. There's the dummy half runner, but a good tackle by Boyd on Thomas. Quick play the ball by Joe Thomas though. Britt, is it Doherty in trouble? And Boyd with another muscling tackle. Britt. Farah's up there, he pops it out the back. Langmack keeps it alive to Liddon.
That was a beautiful pass by Langmack, and if 13 had passed the ball straight away, there would have been a better movement on that left flank.
Liddon to play it, just short of halfway. Last tackle, Alchin puts it up. Pressure here on Adamson, close to the sideline. That was a useful kick that time, but Adamson survived it.
Oh, I don't like the look of West half. Jason Alchin. Looks like he's hurt his hip.
Here's Farah. He's trapped low and high by the two big men, Liddon and Carney. Graham Mackay comes in and up the middle he goes. Back to Boyd. Boyd's playing well. Cartwright had no winger. All they needed was the support play on the outside there. Now Girdler. He gets the pass away to Vincent. Still going Shane Vincent. But he finally runs into Georgalis and Carney. Plays it slowly. He did feel the effects of that tackle.
Carney stings them, Warren, when he hits them. He's got very lethal tackler.
Now Farah knocked it on. It was a bad pass. It made it difficult for him, and then he snatched at it as it didn't really bounce up for him.
You mouth an expletive there too. No, you shouldn't do that, young fellow.
You never know when there'll be microphones around. I'll tell you what, the people who can lip read, they've known all about it for years. Here's Alchin. Alchin finally taken by Farah. West 35 metres out. It's Hughes. West with a back line deep. In fact, a few forwards just wide of the ruck. Here they come now. It's Affleck. Well, he's met and stopped. Well and truly, 25 metres out. McNamara's on for Penrith, wearing 40. Langmack holds it up for Willis. Willis has lost the ball, I think. Pulled out of his arms, is it? And a blood bin case. Trindle's got the ball for Penrith, and Doherty is going to the blood bin for Wests. And while those changes going on, I think we might be able to go down to Johnny Peard with Howie Tamati.
Yeah, the Kiwi coach. And what brings you to Campbelltown on such a chilly day, Howie?
Well, we're over here to have a look at Stephen Cooney this afternoon, so we're interested in see how the young bloke's going.
Well, he's a fine prospect, isn't he? What about tomorrow? You off to another great game?
That's right. We're off to see the game tomorrow, Canterbury-Manly. So there's a few Kiwi boys running around there as well.
Well, how do you see the upcoming series? You confident with the calibre of play you have?
Well, we know it's tough. We got full of respect for the Australian players, and I guess with the depth that they got watching the State of Origin, they're going to be very hard to beat. But hopefully we'll be able to pick a side that's that competitive with the Australians at least.
I'm sure you will. Thanks, Howie.
And as John was talking to Howie Tumity, the kick through from Prest, he put some pressure on Hughes, but West have managed to come away with it. Alchin, again out of dummy half. And he gets the penalty. Penrith hadn't retired back the 5 or the 8 metres. And so the penalty goes to West, and the dummy half runner earning that penalty.
I think the crowd may have talked him into it. I mean, there's been rucks like that in defence almost all the game.
So Leeds looks for touch, gains 15 metres. West go back into Penrith's half. West's leading 12 points to 10 after leading 10-0 earlier on. Thomas, Alchin, looks like he's recovered from any knock. Darren Britt halfway through. Good strong running. Now this is Matt Ryan for West. He's come on, 41. He came on for Doherty, I believe, the blood bin man. Now Langmack looking for Georgalis. Georgalis wasn't expecting it. He thought he was a decoy. He just left his back looking at the ball as he went through. Walker. On it goes quickly to Ryan. Good tackle by Liddon, but a chance for Vincent. He takes on Simons, but a good tackle by Wayne Simons. Bit of room to move there. Out wide, McNamara. Dragged to ground by Affleck. Walker. And he tries to drop it out the back. Really from the hand it went forward, but it trickled backwards in the end. Cartwright's pass may have floated forward as well. Here's a chance down the wing for the Penrith player. Who is that replacement? There's a replacement on there. Trying to find him in the book. It's Nathan Barnes, number 27. The replacement's coming thick and fast. A good tackle by Darren Willis.
The referee seemed to deliberate on that one, not knowing whether to pack a scrum down or award a penalty.
Barnes originally selected in the under-21s today. Now Langmack. Hughes. And a good burst too by Brad Hughes. Gets a good pass away to Leeds. That's good football. Bit of pace and then a fine pass. Affleck as West suddenly lift a gear. A lot more momentum in their play in this set of 6. Thomas. Langmack. Liddon surging forward, he goes straight through. Liddon could go all the way. Across comes Adamson, diving for the line. Touch judge signals and he took the corner flag. It looked as if he got the ball down, but the touch judge says that he took the corner post before placing it over the line. Here's Liddon, pushed off Farah easily, surges for the line as Phil Adamson, or Matt Adamson comes across. He was short of the line, and then I think it was a good decision by the touch judge.
Yes, I agree with the touch judge. He stood obediently on the left-hand side of the corner post, clearly indicating that he didn't put the ball down.
And what a great tackle it was from Matt Adamson. Great decision by the judges. I suppose the in-goal judge may have had a word as well, but the touch judge got it right.
Very poor attempt at a tackle by the 5'8", Danny Farah, the halfback Danny Farah.
And Jason Liddon, who has played quite a bit of football in the backs, he set himself for the line. Thought he was going to make it. Graham Mackay, a bad kick. Out towards Georgalis, and Vincent's there to make the tackle, but he was offside, and West get the penalty. A dreadful kick by Graham Mackay. He was under a little bit of pressure, admittedly. But, well, really, he had enough time there, didn't he?
Yes, you know, it's the kicking on both sides with the wind behind them has been poor.
The thing with Graham Mackay there, he had, as it turned out, he did have a fair bit of time, and why would you bother trying to run an extra metre or two when you've got that wind behind you? You just get rid of it. West fine touch. Alchin up there. Georgalis. West leading by 2 points. Carney standing wide out in the backs. He's deep. About 3 wide of the ruck on this side of the field. Which way are they going to go? Affleck. Still got the big men. Liddon on one side of the ruck, Carney on the other. deep. Thomas goes to Britt, inside to Carney. Quickly on to Lidden. Tries to get the pass onto Leeds. Leeds can't hang on to it. Adamson's got it for Penrith.
You know, Western Suburbs are playing these structured plays, 2 and 3 up for some complicated move like that. All they have to do is play their back rowers out in the centres, and as we saw with Lidden's run, nothing complicated.
And the Penrith defence really held the first 3 one-out runners so easily that there wasn't that much disruption to the defensive line. Walker, who has played a very solid game of football, Barry Walker. Boyd, a dummy half, goes back early in the tackle count. Adamson off his left boot. Leeds goes straight through his arms but went back, luckily for him. And a good tackle by Barnes. Willis, Hughes. There's room and men out wide, and he went himself.
All they have to do is just shovel the ball immediately on receipt of a kick, 2 or 3 hands to their left-hand side of the field, and they'll easily get on the outside of the Penrith right winger.
Thomas to Ryan, and 3 men drag him to ground as he crosses the halfway line. Now Alson turns it into Britt, and Boyd came up on his inside to cut off the pass. Last tackle now coming for Wests. Leeds knocked over by Vincent in the act of kicking. Mackay in trouble. Georgialis went over the top, knocked it back. A chance now. Simons gets it on, and he's going to score here through Affleck. Affleck, the front row, finishes it off. And Georgialis and Langmack celebrate as if they've won the lottery. Peter Kelly, the Penrith reserve grade coach, not so impressed. But a little bit of ingenuity here as they leapt over the top of Graham Mackay here. Georgialis, I think it is, goes high over the top, knocks it back. Wayne Simons picks it up, and a fine pass here. He selected the right man, got it to Mark Affleck, and he sprints away from Mackay for the try, and West increased their lead at 16-10. Well, hang on, what's happened?
Been disallowed, Warren.
What for? I was watching the replay. What did it get called back for?
I was watching the monitor myself.
Well, I don't know. Why wasn't it a try?
I'm sure he ruled that the Western Suburbs player knocked it on. Georgialis.
He got indication from his touch, Judge, I'm sure.
Well, there wasn't a penalty involved, but it was certainly knocked back by Georgialis, wasn't it?
No, I thought it went off with his fingertips forward.
Well, there you go. I guess you should watch the ball and not your monitor, shouldn't you? Here it is out to Farah. Farah bursts away. Looks for support. He kicks for Barnes. Barnes could win the race. Barnes flying. Can't get his hand on it. But North and Presty and Wests have got it. 2 Penrith players had a shot at it, and Wests have come away with it. Nathan Barnes looked as if he was easily going to pull it in, but he didn't get a good bounce. Presty couldn't get it either. So Alson feeds it away to Affleck, who thought he was scoring a try at the other end of the field just a moment ago. And suddenly we're back down West goal line. Georgialis. And the score, in case you're wondering, is 12 points to 10 in favour of Wests.
And we've got 25 minutes to go, and have we got a game for you?
And we'll tell you when they score tries. Alson goes into dummy half. Back to Leeds, and Leeds kicks down to Graham Mackay, which is where it all started a few moments back. Mackay, very big man, tough to get hold of, even when he's not going flat out, as on that occasion. Adamson in amongst the forwards, Matt Adamson, just short of halfway, and he was well and truly stopped by Lidden and Thomas. Paul Clark now. They work the switch. Ryan, Cartwright, Trindle. On it goes to Boyd. Boyd's still going. And he is a fighter, Brett Boyd. Cartwright at dummy half. Farah goes wide. Ryan cut back inside. May have been better continuing in the same direction. Last tackle now. Adamson stabs through with a left foot. Back goes Matt Ryan. Dives on it and pulled it in well. And the front row are lurking in behind. Leeds comes away now. Langmack goes to dummy half. West just trying to hammer it up the middle. Hughes trying to play it quickly. Britt. Bad pass from Britt looking for Simons. Nobody knows where it is. And Mackay's got it for Penrith. How many times today have players lost sight of the ball and not known which direction it's gone? Barnes gets it out to Presty with a chance. Can't get away from Willis. And the pass has gone forward. It's been called back. Not even too sure which pass it was. Presumably the last one on Presty.
Yeah. It's a remarkable pace for a game. The players are putting everything into it. They're highly committed.
Let's have a look.
No, looked okay to me.
I thought it was okay too. Alchin. Barry Walker tried to kick it out of his hands. Georgalis. Langmack. Game, 22 minutes to go. West leading 12-10. They've scored 2 tries each. Darren Willis over the halfway. With a good burst, which got over the advantage line, but met by solid defence once more. Now Thomas. Well, West's coach Warren Ryan can't complain that they've ignored his tactics. They're running from dummy half, 2 in every set of 6 on the last. Ryan hooks it across field with a poor kick. Georgalis goes for it. His arms are locked up. And Penrith have got it. Trindle plucking it out of the air. Now it's Farah, or Barnes I should say, Nathan Barnes.
Penrith player in back play in agony, having his ankle treated.
Farah, Clark. West's a little slow to move up that time. I think it's Trindle, the injured Penrith player. It's still alive with Mackay, and they've got 6 more tackles. Paul Clark managing to get it back somehow. Adamson lifts his knees high, he strides a long way with each step. Walker. They're only 20 metres out here, Penrith. Walker finally getting to play the ball away. Danny Farah sort of tried to take it with 2 hands. He's lucky to get away with that. He did go back. Boyd, Cartwright. They've got 5 against 2. Cartwright goes inside. On it goes to Boyd again. Boyd, the tackle still going. Brett Boyd searching for support. Flicks it over the top. Vincent dives over in the corner. It's another forward pass. Vincent placing it over the line, but the last pass was forward. Brett Boyd finding the support as he hunted across field. I thought they butchered it a few tackles earlier, though, when they had 5 against 2.
Well, it was Ford. You can tell from the position of his hands, the way in which his hands ended up after the pass. They were going in a forward direction. The referee was justified in that decision. But I've got to give credit to Penrith. They may be only having 2 premiership points, but they are playing with a tremendous amount of commitment. I was extremely impressed by the way Trindle, with a very bad ankle, raced off the field as quickly as he could, dragging the foot to get a replacement on. They are committed.
Georgalis. And he manages to break away from one tackle, but there's more in front of him. Willis. I don't think either team have suggested that they should be higher up the table on this performance nevertheless. They've tried hard, but there's a lack of true class in the way they're playing the game. Britt, not a lack of enthusiasm.
Well, of course, the breaks have largely come through the experienced players, Langmack particularly putting players through, and some speculative good kicks from the Leeds.
And having said that, I suppose you've got to be fair, their class players aren't on the field, they're out of action. Here's Presty halfway through and just beaten by Willis. It's been a tremendous battle between Willis and Girdler earlier on, and now Willis and Presty. Here's Clark. No frills football, but he does it well. He and Barry Walker have kept Penrith going forward. He's hurt here, Paul Clark, struggling to his feet. McNamara. Clark on his feet but hobbling. Farah cuts across the ruck. Cartwright was deep. Now he feeds it on to Adamson. Well, plenty of ambition in the pass out of the back of the wrist. There was a wrong un attempted by Adamson, but it trickles over the sideline. Here it is with Phil Adamson trying to flick it back.
There's too much speculation in that. Not enough ball security. Should have gone to ground.
Glenn Grief has gone on for West, and Mark Affleck is off. Hughes. Still only 2 points in it. West with their heads in front. They've had their heads in front for a long time, but have been well and truly unable to put Penrith away. Alchin up the middle.
Been very effective, the dummy half running. I think the danger for West could well be 11, Adamson, if he can just temper his play with decisions to make, whether to pass it or whether to play the ball. He can be very dangerous as both sides get a lot tighter. I think he could come into his own.
As Grief hits it up, now leads, bombs away, putting it across field. There's not too many of them out there, and it goes nowhere. Langmack can't get to it. Vincent can't hold it. He knocked it on. But that was almost try time because Shane Vincent would have raced away there. Couldn't hang on to it. Nobody went for it, and that's where it suddenly opened up for anyone.
Well, you've got to go for those high ones, even though the referee might rule rule a handover. The Western Suburbs player should have at least attempted it. It's too dangerous when you can't see it.
Now Langmack is hobbling a little. He's gone to the blindside wing. Girdler has gone into 5/8, or Simons, in fact, has gone to 5/8. So it's just a switch between Langmack and his winger at the moment. Alchin scurries away, leads. Crowd roaring as Ryan puts in a little bit of work on Leeds, but the referee was right over the top of it. Grief.
I can't believe Western Suburbs not putting a big back rower out there in the centres. I mean, they're playing 1 up for everything, 2 up for everything, 3 up for everything, and now we're going to see something of a move.
Liddon it is, trying to burst off his halfback. 20 metres out, last tackle now. Alchin swings it wide. Langmack, he's got Girdler outside, he goes inside to Leeds. Leeds loops a pass over the line, and it looks like a try to Wests. It is a try, and it's scored by Wayne Simons, I think, on the far side. And Andrew Leeds is the man who created it. Took a bit of a risk with the pass, but it was late in the tackle count.
Well, in fact, it was the last tackle. This was the move they intended to do 1 ruck before. They intended to shoot it out the back line like this, and I'm sure that Leeds made the extra man there, and they probably expected to score on the outside.
Well, Wayne Simons pulled it in, but did it actually come off a Penrith player as he managed to get hold of it? Here it is, Langmack turns it inside to Leeds. Leeds got his arm free, and Simons just managed to grab hold of it and pull it away from Shane Vincent as he grasped for it. And Wayne Simons scores the try, which finally puts West out to the 16-10 lead. 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, well, we were saying West 1 up for this, 2 up for this, 3 up for this, and I thought on the 5th tackle, when they were still taking the ball up, their chances were gone. But they elected to put the move on the last tackle rather than kick, and it worked out for them.
Wayne Simons scoring the try. He started out at Penrith in 1986 and then joining Wests in 91. Broke his arm last year and he's still wearing the guard on his arm. And there's a bit of brotherly love, would you call it, between a Panther and a Magpie. An important kick here for Andrew Leeds. If he can land it, West will skip away to an 8-point lead. That'll give them a bit of breathing space. It's a difficult one. Hits it pretty well. The wind should hold it. Has it got the legs? It has. And Andrew Leeds, what a valuable acquisition he has been for West this season. West leading now 18 points to 10, 14 minutes remaining.
Yeah, West with far better use of the ball this half. They're effective. There's Alchin throwing a ball to the number 13, Liddon. Quick play the ball. Joe Thomas has moved it wide. Now Langmack did very well. He holds it out in front, flicks it back inside to Leeds, who's played an outstanding game. And of course, the try scorer, Wayne Simons.
So from the restart, West in possession. 28 metres out from their own line. They have a match-winning lead now. Penrith need the converted try and they'll still be 2 points behind. And that's a good, strong run. Glenn Grief taking it to them. Alchin.
Should West get away with this game, Alchin will be the coach's pet. He just ran from dummy half. Just consolidating possession, getting in a position where they can use Leeds' kicks.
And there it is, Leeds' kicks stopping dead in the wind, but Adamson had it well and truly covered. He beats a tackle. He has played well, Matt Adamson.
Penrith forwards slowly walking back on side now. They're with an 8-point gap. We'll see how spirited they are.
Cartwright. Boyd gets it to McNamara. And there's another replacement on there for Penrith, but it goes out to Ryan. He looks towards Vincent, goes himself, Jason Ryan, pulled to ground. Walker. Boyd. Cartwright gets it onto Adamson, quickly through Barnes to Presby. Back over the top, Adamson couldn't quite hang on to it. Tried hard as it was down around his ankles. A short, sharp pass. The replacement on for Penrith is Michael Gillette in jersey 33. They must have just about used up all their interchanges, so there have been one or two blood bins. Ryan. And Boyd comes back in. He's a competitor, Brett Boyd. And he's in for another tackle, but misses Carney. Thomas. Alchin. Driven back. Again, it was Boyd with the tackle. Britt goes towards Farah. Good pass to Liddon. Liddon goes through. Adamson in front of him, and he makes the tackle. No support, arriving in time. Quick play the ball by Liddon. Thomas goes the wrong way. Now he gets it back. Willis leads. Langmack. It's the last tackles. Back on the ground. Farah can't hang on to it. It should be 6 more. Ryan floats it out the outside to Simons. He's looking for another try. Ryan still going. One more pass. Barry Walker's got it for Penrith. They didn't get another 6 more, even though I thought Farah had touched it. So it was still the last. They had to keep it alive. So now Graham Mackay has it. And Penrith, well, what can they do? They've got to get down the other end of the field and score twice. 10 minutes to go. They're down by 8 points. McNamara. Cartwright, one off the ruck. Calls for it. Gets it out to Vincent. And Langmack was coming in to take his legs out from under him and missed. Gillette. Kick straight to Leeds. That's not a good kick. He should have been able to get better distance and accuracy with the wind. Vincent with a solid tackle on Leeds. Willis.
Cartwright gave his old teammate Leeds a little bit of a rough up there, just to let him welcome him back.
Ryan was throwing the ball out on the left-hand side where they only had 2 players. Wouldn't want to make a mistake. Carney. West's playing steady football here. Away goes Alchin, out of dummy half again. Last tackle now, coming up for the Magpies. Langmack kicks ahead, it's a good kick. Flying for it is Simons, but the ball beats them all. So it'll be a 22 tap. Well-weighted kick by Langmack. His winger was really onto it.
I think that some of the back rowers should trail the halfback, Jason Alchin. He's making some probing runs and ball playing very well, but he hasn't got any supports trailing him.
Away goes Barry Walker with yet another hit up. McNamara, and he's knocked back. Heavy, strong tackle by Doherty. Oh, another big hit. That time, who was it coming in? It wasn't one of the big men, it was Langmack. Langmack with the shoulder in on Matt Adamson. Cartwright. Quick hands from Vincent to Barnes. Across comes Willis. Barnes gets away from him. Now it's Presty close to the line. And Alchin pushes him over the touchline, but the pass went forward. The last pass was forward anyway. Well, both teams guilty of throwing the last pass forward, according to the referee. That one was fairly flat.
Yeah, under the new Don Farner definition of a pass, as a la the video that he circulated to each of the clubs, I would say that pass was okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. That video showing that when you pass the ball, if you're running, that the ball automatically goes forward anyway. Georgalis. I also think that in cases of forward passes like that, why not give the benefit of doubt to the attacking side if you're in two minds, which, well, referee Manson wasn't, we presume, but if in doubt, give the attacking side the benefit, the way they do in cricket.
Particularly where there's no great advantage or disadvantage against the defending team.
Now it's Doherty, Darian Doherty. They're only 20 metres out. Britt getting attention on the sideline. Alchin stumbling out of tackles. Doherty, Ryan, West hungry for one more try here. Fifth tackle. Thomas gets it to Leeds. Leeds pops it up in the in-goal area. Adamson waiting for it. They all fly. It's on the ground. It's a West try. And Stephen Carney has picked up the loose ball. He's dived on what was just a crumb as five of them went for the bomb. Well, anything can come from a bomb. Leeds put it into the in-goal area. If they couldn't get hold of it up top, well, it was going to be anyone's. West have scored the try that certainly seals victory.
You'll see that the ball clearly went back.
And Langmack certainly making a play at it.
And he just pressed the ball at his knees, and it was fair enough try.
Langmack, it was, put some pressure on Adamson here. He made it awkward for him. And Carney coming from behind.
Well, he got a big grin on his face too, and the only thing that'll make him happier is if Howie DeMarty puts him in the back row of the Kiwi Test team.
Well, Carney, who made his first grade debut this season, the 20-year-old from Wellington, New Zealand, joining Wests and played in West's winning President's Cup side last year. He may be playing Test football later in the year if he's impressed the coach today. So West's leading now 22-10 and have this game won. But Penrith have certainly thrown everything at them. Just a little bit of inexperience at times, a couple of bad passes. Bounce of the ball may have made a difference. Andrew Leeds makes it 4 from 5. He's certainly done his job. And now there are 5 minutes remaining. The Magpies have got this game won, 24-10.
He's certainly been one of the standouts, Andrew Leeds. He has all the time in the world. Put the ball exactly where he wants to go, a skirmish in goal. And Carney comes up with the try, but anything can happen from those bombs if they're well directed.
Doherty brings it back, and Barnes making the good low tackle. Copybook. Matt Ryan heads across field. Joe Thomas must be feeling a little frustrated with his own fortunes at the moment. He's in a winning side here today, but only a couple of weeks ago he was playing in the City Country Origin match and playing in a winning side. Probably thought that he was next in line for Ben Elias if he got injured. Well, Elias got suspended, but Joe Thomas didn't get the nod. Instead, Robbie McCormack's in there.
Well, Joe's a ball-playing hooker too. He would have been a sort of a quite a logical replacement for Benny insofar as he can create opportunities.
Here's Presty coming away from the touchline. Well, Roy, you'd have to say that there is hope for Penrith once they get a few players back from injury and back from origin duty, like Fittler, Alexander, Carter. Paul Smith, of course, is out injured for the season.
The two Adamsons have obviously been very good buys for them. They play with a lot of commitment. Boyd is plays with a lot of enthusiasm.
The same could be said about West with a bit more class on the field. They certainly are missing Bob Lindner this year. He left them to join Illawarra, and that's made a difference to their attacking impact. Here's Adamson again. And he plays it forward. I thought that he was marked. The referee didn't. Play on. Adamson stays alive. But back to Thomas. Here's a chance. Wayne Simons now. Gillette comes across. Georgialis coming back into where the defence is. Needed the support to stay outside, but they were following him. 40 metres out. Leads.
I like the way Georgialis runs. Has the ball in two hands in front of him. He's a clever player.
Alton gets it to Liddon. Hunting wide. Jason Liddon trying to look inside. There was no one there. Willis. 20 metres out west. 3 minutes remaining. Looking for yet another try. They've scored 4 tries to Penrith's 2. Kicked 4 goals to 1. Last tackle now. Alton. No pressure on him. Doesn't go very deep with the kick. And contesting it, the Penrith player hit in the eye and lost it. That was Adamson, and West have got it again.
Langmack pushed his luck there. All he had to do was hold for the first tackle.
I think it was 6 more, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, that was the 6. He was the first tackle that he tried to push that pass.
Slowly to his feet is Walker. He'll sleep well tonight. Girdler. Ryan Girdler, who left the field at one stage. Now, Doherty. John, you mentioned earlier that Penrith would look, I should say, not Doherty, Adamson. You said that Penrith would look to Adamson as a man who might be able to create some opportunities. While he has made a few mistakes, he's got some talent that other players are never born with, are they?
That's true, Warren. He's got some size too. But he can offload the ball very well. And that could be an asset in a year or two if he can just decide when to pass and when to play the ball.
Nathan Barnes. But has Willis ever left Barnes or this wing Presley over this side? Every time they see half a glimmer of hope, there's Willis across on them.
This is only the 3rd tackle too. Penrith can still score.
So much for that, says Phil Gould, I'm sure. Alton. It's been a scrappy game at times, particularly when they have managed to work for field position and string a few passes together. The last pass has often gone astray. Well, 10 metres short of halfway, but Georgialis struggling to get to his feet. Grief. And well, he too is hurt or just playing out time. But they've got this game won. There is the siren. So Wests have won their 3rd game of the season, but a long way to go to get back into the hunt for the 5. But they are still alive in the competition of 1993. But Penrith now, you would have to say, well, really don't have a mathematical hope. And they're just playing to improve and to finish the season on a good note. They threatened West at one stage of the season, but the Magpies came again in midway through the second half. Good tactics, running from dummy half effective, and they have run out winners by 24 points to 10. John Cartwright, well, he was surrounded by young faces. He would have liked to have seen a little more experience around him. And he'll be a happy man when he sees Greg Alexander, Brad Fittler, players like that around him. And of all those 26 players, in fact, there's probably more like 34 used in the match. Who was Master's choice?
Well, my Master's choice goes to Paul Langmack. I thought that he was in everything. His attacking play was extremely creative. He was bruising in defence and he chased every kick. Almost all of the points that West scored had Langmack involved in them. He played like a 22-year-old.
Well, let's go down to that 22-year-old with Johnny Pearce.
Well, Paul, 10-0 early, and then you let them back into the game.
Yeah, it's the sign of this year. We're not concentrating for the full 80 minutes. In first-grade football, you've got to have intensity and enthusiasm for 80 minutes, and it's happened all year. You know, we started strong today. We started strong against Balmain last week, but we've got 3 weeks off now to rectify the problem and come up against the Brisbane Broncos.
A bit at half-time that your coach may have said run from dummy half just to get you in a position so you could use a kick, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think you know too well, Johnny, with Eastern Suburbs. You make a lot of yards from dummy half and taking the ball forward, and we made a lot of yards today, and we couldn't kick long because of the wind, and we're trying to get a few penalties, but we didn't.
Jason Elchin did a good job coming out of dummy half for you.
Oh, certainly. I thought Jason played really well, and I'm pleased for Jason because he's had a hard 2 years. With Jason Taylor playing so well, so you never know, they might put Taylor 5'8", and I can get back in the forwards.
How are you going at 5? You're playing well, but do you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah, I'm having fun, but I'd rather play in the forwards because you're on the pace all the time. I get a bit cold out there and don't get the ball enough. But playing first grade's what it's all about, and I'm having fun.
Well, you played well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So there he is, Paul Langmack, and he wants to get back in the forwards. He reckons you get cold at 5'8". Jeez, we should play on the wing, see what it's like. OK, let's have a look at the very first try of the match when Steve Georgalis slid over the line. Was this a try?
Elchin, Langmack, goes wide.
There it is, Steve Georgalis here, sliding for the line, and very difficult to see. Well, he looks like he has got the ball placed on the line, but certainly Matt Adamson disputing it. And that was the very first try of the match. And that's the story of the game. 4 tries to 2. Georgalis, Langmack, Simons and Carney scoring for West. Leeds kicking 4 from 5. And for Penrith, Zurab and Presdy scoring the tries. Girdler kicking 1 from 2. It was 12 points to 10 at half-time in favour of West, 24 to 10 at full-time, so they doubled the score. And I think we can go back to Johnny Peard.
One of the finds for West, Steve. Your coach, Howie Tamati, was here, and you put on a pretty good show for him. How'd you find it out there?
Well, you know, the first half, the first 20 minutes, it was pretty tough, but I think we got on top of them. But once again, like we did against Balmain, we let it slip, and you know, we're pretty cautious going into the dressing room with only a 2-point lead coming back out to this win. But to our credit, we come out here and we tackled strong and we come up with a couple of tries there, so we were lucky enough to come away with the win.
Well, you're only 20 years of age. I guess you'd still relish a test jumper?
Yeah. Any other than this black and white one, another one would go well, but I mean, I'm a long way off that, I think, but you know, it's up to them, so you just have to see what happens.
OK, thanks for talking with us.
Thanks very much.
Stephen Carney, who certainly looked to be a powerful player at times, and he would be a handful.
Oh yeah, and he stings in defence too. You can see them jolt when he hits them. He's a very talented lad.
Powerful and mobile. Well, 2 more matches to complete this half of the split round. Coming up tonight, 7:30 kickoff at Caltex Field. Cronulla versus Newcastle. And then tomorrow, Canterbury versus Manly. Of course, Andrew Eddinghausen out of the Cronulla lineup, but Newcastle also hit by origin withdrawals, and Bella and Roberts missing from tomorrow's matches as well. So not too long to go. In fact, we've got to go, Roy. See you next time. And next week, we've got East versus Balmain, so I hope you can join us then.